Blueberry.
This podcast is a member of the Blueberry Network. Blueberry. No E's. That's Blueberry, BLUBRRY.com. Blueberry.com.
What's happening, Party Animal Nation? It's hashtag RDM Russell Devin McLean. Dominic Frederick is taking care of some important network business. But don't worry about that, because today, on today's show, I'm going to be joined by producer Sean Ireland and director-screenwriter John Beaton Hill. We're going to be talking about their brand new featured film on the independent circuit, The Wolves of Savin Hill. And they have a hell of a cast in this movie, I have to tell you. Right now, we're going to do it a little different this week because Dominic's not here. We're going to do the song of the day. And if you have a special request for a song of the day you want to hear featured on the show, tweet us at Radio RDM Network. So let's go. Let's do this. Let's crank it up. All right, my very first guest is the writer and director of the brand new featured film, Wolves of Savin Hill. I'm talking about none other than Mr. John Hill. John, how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm good. I'm doing great. We're down in San Diego,
just getting ready for the festival here, and I appreciate getting a chance to talk with you, Russell. So thank you.
Oh yeah, anytime, man. Anytime. I know you're really busy right now. It's festival season. We just talk a little bit about the Wolves of Savin Hill, which I will say is a phenomenal movie, starring the likes of David Cooley, Brian Scannell, and Kurt Fuller, who is actually from Wayne's World.
Oh yeah, we got Kurt Fuller that was in Midnight in Paris, the Woody Allen movie. And he's in Wayne's World. He's known for that. But he's got a new show coming out this fall. And so he's working. He constantly works. He's a good friend, and he's brilliant in the movie. We've got Jack McGee that was in The Fighter. You've seen him around. He's fantastic in the film as well. And Michael Massee that was in, among many movies, Seven, The Crow. He's a terrific actor and always working, always in demand. And we got Paul Carafotes, we got Tonya Cornelisse, we got Tim deZarn that was in The Cabin in the Woods, among many of his other credits, and several other actors that we're very fortunate that we got a great cast, and they're all gifted and talented, and they're out there working. They're working actors for sure.
Yes, indeed. Now, what was it like for you working with the likes of such a seasoned and talented cast?
Well, it's interesting because a lot of the cast members I knew prior to the film, the production. So I would say the majority, with the exception of maybe a few actors, I knew prior, beforehand as friends and so forth. So, with Kurt I knew, with Brian and David and Paul Carafotes and Tonya and several of the other actors I knew. And Jack I was introduced to by David Cooley, one of the leads, who's friends with, they're good friends. And Michael as well is friends with David Cooley. So they all came aboard and loved the script right from the get-go. We had a reading, and from that reading, it really took off from there to get it into production. And we shot it over about a year and a half, believe it or not, due to schedules and the like. And economics, too, I think, played a big part because we did shoot it very modestly and a very economic. We shot on a very low budget scale, so to speak. So they were all happy to come aboard and support the project. Kurt Fuller is a friend of mine that I've known for years now, and he was more than happy to help out in any way. He said, anything you got, if you got anything, they all wanted to support me as a filmmaker to take the next level, to take the next step. And this was the screenplay out of, about 6 screenplays that I have, was the one that we could do economically and that we could do, we can shoot it within the means that we, within LA where most of us live. And I shot 2 days back east in Boston, which is where the foundation of the story takes place between the 2 leads and their families and so forth. So, but the majority of the story takes place in LA, where the confrontation, so to speak, and that these 2 childhood best friends need to confront each other over this event that happened presently, that awakens this event that happened when they were children, when they discovered this body in these woods, so to speak. So yeah. So.
That's awesome. Now, what is as far as writing goes, is there where does your inspiration come from?
It's interesting. I mean, I have very similar themes throughout most of my screenplays, and there's a fine line or a thin line between good and evil. So I do play a lot upon, a foundation that the storyline that emanates from the lead character's childhood, so to speak. So this was another through line, with at least 2 of my other screenplays that have a similar foundation. That, for me, it's something that, it certainly has to do with something within your childhood that, it's something that you need to go back into to try and repair something. And, an event that happened, albeit in the Wolves of Savin Hill, it's truly something that is horrific and tragic, and that they need to go back and confront this thing. And so a lot of stories emanate from they come from everywhere. It's interesting. I mean, this came about through, an inspiration by Point Blank, believe it or not, Lee Marvin movie directed by John Borman in 1966. The style in that movie is very influential on me, and you can see that style influenced by Steven Soderbergh in a lot of his films, particularly The Line Beat, which is a big foundation for us, for me particularly. And I was able to use Super 8 movies that I placed throughout the movie that really give it its foundation and sort of a fingerprints and a time and a place with these actors, that they're from a place that, we had strong imagery with the Super 8 material and so forth. So, and a lot of this, the Super 8 material is, I've been making films from a very young age, very inspired, love movies, love movies. And I use a lot of that footage, that fit perfectly within the storyline of the film. And so, I mean, in terms of where the inspiration comes from, I mean, I'm a big advocate of, literature, and I'm a big advocate of, artists and artwork. An idea can come from anywhere, but, to be inspired that, you want to, put forth and make a decision to make a movie, because it's just an enormous undertaking. And everybody in the cast, stayed with it in terms of, the length of the shooting schedule. We shot when we could with actors' schedules permitting, and, we're really proud of the film. I mean, I know the actors are really ecstatic about it. We had a screening, and they were really ecstatic about the results. So we are, we're excited about the film festival being accepted into it. And I'm also up for a first time. It's called the Chris Brinker Award. Chris is a producer and a gentleman and an artist and a great man. Unfortunately, he passed. And they have an award in honor of him for a first-time best filmmaker. So for Thursday night, they have an award ceremony with one of those categories, and celebrating the likes of Alan Arkin and Beau Bridges as well for a tribute night coming up this Thursday. So, I'm honored, and I'm humbled by it. So some great things are happening with the film.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, it is leading up to, which is September 27th. It's the first premiere of at the San Diego Film Festival. You were excited about that?
Oh, we are. We got a great screening time. I'm really happy with that. At 4:00, it's by all accounts, it's a very good screening time, and we're getting the word out there. We're getting the word any way we can, through social media, through industry contacts, to just let them know, who's involved in the movie, the film, the film in and of itself. And the end game for us is to move forward in our next projects and so forth. We do have, we have other projects that are lined up, and they're all of high quality. We've got interest by a lot of great talent that want to come aboard and be a part of that. So I feel blessed. I feel really I'm humbled by everything that's taken place in the last the last year for me and for everybody involved with the film, the producers, the actors, because they're excited. They're definitely excited.
What's next for you?
Well, I mean, in terms of with this film, we're going to submit it to several festivals. We've got several notable festivals coming up. Among the festivals are like, Sundance obviously is one of the big ones, and Slam Dance is another one that takes place during the same time in January with Sundance. And we submitted to the Santa Barbara International Film Festival, and we're gonna look at some back east, whether it's in Massachusetts, in Boston, or New York, and we're looking into that as we speak, and what the best venue for the film, to kind of highlight the movie and the type of movie that it is. And then obviously we're gonna move forward with with financing and so forth to get the next film up and running, and we're in that decision process right now. I've got a handful of movies, like I've spoken about. Killing Jane Doe is one that is a big highlight for me. I think it's a great script, and as well as cast members that have taken a look at it, and other industry related persons, and I got another one called The Devil's Lottery. I have several irons in the fire, so to speak. And the economics going into the Wolves of Savin Hill, comparatively, this was definitely a labor of love. People came aboard and, wanted to be a part of the process, and we do have a nice, we got a fine film, and I'm inspired by everybody's hard work and talent that came aboard. And so the next thing for us is to, the festivals, work towards distribution, obviously, with the Wolves of Savin Hill, and then move forward with getting the next film into production. And the decisions that will be made upon that, will present itself. So, it's an exciting time, no doubt.
Yes, indeed. Now, I know you're really busy. As a matter of fact, like you said, you were in San Diego, so I don't want to keep you too much longer, but if you have a shout-out you want to send as far as websites and any links that you want to share with the listeners, be my guest.
Well, we got, if you go to our website, all the information, social media, that's just the day and the age we live in, these likes and all that. But all our information is on our Facebook page, the Wolves of Savin Hill, as well as if you go on YouTube with the trailer. So if you go on YouTube and you put in the Wolves of Savin Hill, you'll see the official trailer and our information in regards to any and all of our websites. And also if you go to sdfilmfest.com, you'll see our information on there. If you go to our screening time, which is Saturday, in the program Saturday at 4 o'clock at the Reading Cinema, you'll see all of our information in regards to that with the cast and the trailer and information in regards to the movie. So that and any support is obviously we're grateful for that.
Yes, indeed, and we're here. That's what we're here for. That's what we do, and I'm going to share all your links and everything in the show notes. And I'm glad we finally caught up with each other. I'm glad we finally had a chance to talk. I'd love to have you on in the next couple of weeks or so, next couple of months ago, maybe talk about future projects and tell us about how the film's going. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, we got some venues coming up. I certainly appreciate the time, and within this week, going into Saturday, if we will get a chance to talk again, just anytime would be great.
Same here, Mr. John. I'm going to let you go. I'm going to let you get back to your busy day in San Diego, California. Say hello to all your friends for me, and I'll do the same.
Okay,
with mine.
All right, thank you so much, buddy. Appreciate it.
Thank you, man. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, buddy. Thank you.
All right, that was it for Mr. John Hill. Y'all stay tuned. After we pay a bill, we'll be right back with the producer of Wolves of Savin Hill, Mr. Sean Ireland. Stay with us. This day and age, somebody in the entertainment industry needs good publicity. So let me turn you on to a name that will turn your name into a brand with high effective, low cost publicity management. I'm talking about October Coast. October Coast specializes in the promotion and publicity of new and re-emerging artists, public figures, products, companies, and entertainment venues. Compared to other public relation companies who offer very little for a premium price, October Coast prides itself on delivering high results for low cost. So get your act together and let October Coast Publicity represent you today. To find out more, visit at www.octobercoastpr.com or by email at office@octobercoast.net.
Joining me today all the way from Los Angeles, California. He's a producer of the Wolves of Savin Hill. He's also known for Sway and the Foreclosure. None other than Mr. Sean Ireland. Sean, how are you doing today?
I'm doing all right, Russell. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Can't complain at all. So we'll dive right in. How did you get started in the movie industry?
Me? Well, I was actually in graduate school and decided that after I graduated, I was going to teach, and then decided, I think I would rather do film. And so I just started volunteering everywhere. I was, came into it a little bit late, volunteering on films all over the place, and eventually moved to Los Angeles and started writing and working. And, like a lot of people, just decided to make my own and started making films and got the experience. And that's the road of, I think, a lot of independent filmmakers. Finally working on films, and, a lot of us with the goal of eventually making your own, producing, writing, directing. love independent films. I love the world of independent films. I love the people, and it's just a great way to make films.
Right. And you talk about independent films. You also had something to do with Wag the Dog, correct?
Well, I was an actor. Yeah, I got a small part in that. When I first came out to California, I was jumping in as an extra. And it was funny. I got in a couple of big films pretty quickly. Just making extra money. I was not interested in acting, but I got on that. I got on The Next Best Thing, the Madonna film, and just small things. But it's kind of fun, get in that way. But I was more interested in being part of the production in the way, obviously.
Right. Now let's talk a little bit about the Wolves of Savin Hill. How did you get involved with that production?
Well, I'd known John Beaton Hill, the director. I didn't know David Cooley, the other producer, but John came to me one night. He said he had a friend, and they were putting together this film, and it was originally entitled Days Full of Night. And they had a script, and because I'd made these films and we'd been talking quite a lot, they asked me if I would come in as producer. And I said, sure. We talked a little bit about the film. I love the idea, and I hadn't seen the script. They'd been working on it. John was working on it at the time, and so I just knowing them, and John's a really smart kid, and David too, and I thought, wow, they must have something going on here. And so my first suggestion to them was, let's do a trailer, let's do a table reading and trailer, and that's they're game for they wanted as much as me. They wanted to work and they wanted to produce the film, and so we got right into a table reading, and it read well, and we were like, okay, let's do another table. Let's keep the momentum and get these people. It was important for us, I think, and I had learned this in the past when we do independent films. Keep the momentum, just keep everybody interested, do another reading. And then we get the idea, shoot a trailer, and it developed from there. This is a film that we shot a little bit in an unorthodox way. It was originally supposed to be a trailer, and then it became a short, and then it became a feature. The script was always there, and John was rewriting as we were going, but it was truly a labor of, both a labor of love and a labor of kind of, creatively, like, wow, look what we've got, let's just keep going here. Let's make something really, this is kind of special here. This is a nice film, and let's keep going. And the actors were game, and everybody was into it, and we did it. And he shot it over 18 months or so.
Talking a little bit about the actors, they had a pretty good cast. You had David Cooley, who is known for his voiceover work in featured video games, and also Mr. Kirk Fuller, who is a seasoned actor. How was it for you to work with those two guys?
Oh, God, they're great. It's funny, making the films that I had made, they were smaller films, and they were I was working with actors in the best way that I could. But meeting John and David, I was impressed by their desire to pull in some bigger names and get some really talented people. And David's talented. And so once, we started filming, and it was great to sit and watch these guys work. It was just a treat, When you're working with actors like David and Kurt and Michael Massee, we got in there, and Brian Scannell, he was great. Just sit and watch these guys work. It's just really nice, The performance is everything. I was always saying, with independent films, we can't compete with the studios in the bigger ways. We can't make a film with special effects. It's useless to try. But there are two ways in which we're kind of, we're on a level playing field in terms of the writing. What we've got, they can't, they can obviously buy some, they find great stuff, but we can also produce great stuff. And John's a very good writer. And these guys coming in, as friends and people who liked the material, they came in for 2-3 days at a time, and wow, they were great. And performance, so it's the story and it's performance. And if you got that independent film, if you've got a story and you've got good performances, the rest is get this thing filmed well and make sure that it sounds great. And there's quite a lot more, but that's the beginning of a good film. Yeah, working with these guys is just great. They're also Jason Oliver from Stand By Me. He came in, did a couple scenes as a kind of, he was fantastic.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We got a lot of people who came in, read the script at the table reading, and said Michael Massee, one of them from Seven, who plays the villain in film Seven. He was great. He came to the table reading. He's got this great timbre in his voice. He's just very patient, and he's just a wonderful actor. And he liked the script, and he played a gun dealer, a cemetery scene. He was just great. sitting there and watching that, and it's just great.
Yeah, and then now let's talk a little bit about one of your projects that I found pretty interesting, and that's Sway, which is something that you written and also produced and directed.
Yeah, Sway was my first film. We had a prison in Massachusetts pretty much given to us, which is, I had this idea to shoot something in one location. I mean, it's funny, in independent films, the studios don't think this way, but I think it's pretty smart for an independent filmmaker. If you can make a film in one location, if you can create a story that goes down in one place, you're in a pretty good spot, in terms of logistically. You're going to be able to keep everybody there. I had 74 actors. That I do not recommend. It was way too many. A lot of speaking roles, a huge number of speaking roles, and so it was a big, unwieldy monster of a film. It was my first film, and Jim Klopp produced it with me, a friend of mine, and he was, we pulled it off. And to me, it was amazing that we actually pulled it off. We put it together and we edited and made that film, and we were in a prison for 3 weeks, and they left us alone, and it was like having a movie set. And that was great.
Now you talk about the challenges of everything on there. Where did the idea from the Sway come from?
Oh wow! I had an idea to put. I wanted to write a story about a guy who tries to escape into jail rather than out, and that was the basic premise that I had. What if somebody wanted to get in and not out? And it's about a guy who's being released at the end of his term. Well, the jail's closing down. They're transferring everybody, but he doesn't want to go. He doesn't want to go back to his family. He doesn't want to go back out there. And so he takes hostages the last few people inside the prison, and that's the whole film. They're trying to talk him into coming out, and he won't come out, and that's the story. And so they start sending people in. People in the community hear about it, and they start coming down to the jail, and they want to support him. He doesn't want them there, but they all start hopping the fence, and people are in there, and that's the story. It becomes this crazy scene inside the jail he can't control. So that was that single premise, brought that out.
Yeah. Now, as far as on the writing aspect of things, excuse me, on the writing aspect of things, how do you get in the mode? I mean, is there a ritual, or is it just come to you and you just start writing down, or do you?
It's and John would attest to this. I sat with John as he was going through this script for the Wolves of Savin Hill, and it's a lot of work. It's a jigsaw puzzle sometimes that comes together in terms of the development of characters. John wrote a very emotional story, and so there's a deep emotional arc to it. And it's about these people who are trying to overcome an event that they experienced in childhood, something that really changed their lives. And they can never, in the basic idea of the Wolves of Savin Hill, they can never escape this event that they experienced. It had to do with the death of a young girl, and the two of them are intimately involved in it. We won't say what it actually went down, but writing that emotionally and physically, developing a structure for a plot and art is really hard in any screenplay. I mean, I'm a writer still. Obviously I'm writing and I'm working on 2 more projects, and one of them I finished and had a reading, and it's a film called Jailbird. And the second one I'm working on now, and it is tough. I mean, I don't know. You keep going to it. You keep going to it and going to it. You don't give up, and you never stop. I mean, that's all I can say. I mean, you learn the principles of writing and resolving a plot and going into. We talked in a lot of ways about the basic structure of a plot being this. When we're doing Wolves of Savin Hill, the world is in a state of equilibrium. It falls into a state of disequilibrium, and it has to get resolved and restored to a state of equilibrium. And we follow that basic idea. And in the end of the Wolves of Savin Hill, there's a sense. That's what they're attempting to do. They're attempting to restore that world that they've lost. And that's, if you can get there as a writer and you can aim for that, I think you're in a pretty good space. Kind of like concentric rings, or principles or ideas. You start wide with a story idea, and you think about your resolution first, and you make sure that you've got something to aim for, and then you start filling in the acts, and then you fill in the sequences, and you fill in the scenes. And John is extremely detailed. And so, everything matters, which I love. I think everything matters. And I do. Everything is significant. That's what we did. But it's not easy.
Now you were talking about some of your latest projects. Can you give us any details on anything, what's to come?
Well, I've got a film called Jailbird. I've got a script called Jailbird, and it's not that I'm writing about jailbird. I mean, this is the second one. I had an uncle who was kind of an unrepentant bank robber, and I'm telling his story basically. He was institutionalized, couldn't figure out how to live outside of jail, and that's the story. It's the basic story. They're trying to, the family, he's trying to stay out of jail, and but he can't. It's hard to live, when you live a certain way, and you're out there in the world, and you're so used to it. That's what he's up against. He's up against himself. He's trying to stay out in the world, and yet he's developed this persona and this way of living that keeps getting him in trouble. And he's trying to get out. And that's the basic premise of the story. There's a little more to it, but that's the idea. I had a table reading, and it was wonderful. I had like 25 people at the reading, and afterwards, when you do a table reading, oftentimes people read up. You spend a half hour, 45 minutes at the end, where people give you ideas, or they kind of they challenge you in some ways to tell you what they think worked and what didn't work. And it was the first time I've ever been at a reading where everyone was basically saying to me, this is where to be made, and it was a really nice experience. Everyone loved it. Everybody in that room liked the script. I've never experienced it. That was a nice feeling. Whether or not that, that will parlay into anything was, the first reading went really well. So it's a matter now of building momentum for some of that. And what John and I are trying to develop two projects. He's got a great script called Killing Jane Doe, set on the Sunset Strip, and it has to do with serial murderers. It's just a great story. And so we're trying to kind of produce the two of them. This is what, and John said this the other day, we were in an interview, and John nailed it. He said, when you make a film like this, and we've made a really fine film, and we've gotten a really great response to this film, and the question becomes, what have you got? What's next? And that's what we're looking forward to. We're sustaining the momentum in the Wolves of Savin Hill, and we're looking forward to developing new projects. And that's what we're
Now, you're talking about working with John and everything, and I talked to him a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. He seems like a very, very busy man. I'm sure with anything. Is there any kind of clashing between the two of you as far as your styles of maybe writing or producing or your visions?
Oh, well, when you're sitting with somebody for a year and a half, editing a film and making it, oh, sure. We had arguments, but, we just said, let's not let it go past this, and we both thick skin, and we got to the point where we could yell at each other and disagree, and it was okay. And that's the way to do it, I think. Do not leave anything, concealed. Everything is out in the open. If you feel a certain way, In terms of the direction of the film, I like to say I'm teachable. I like to be a student. And John's a cineast. John knows films like it's incredible what this kid knows about cinema, And so I like being taught. And the interesting thing was I could tell that he also was gaining experience from me, because I'm a big literature guy. I studied literature. That was my thing, that was my graduate degree was in literature. And so, I bring a lot of that stuff to it too, story. I bring story. And in some ways he said it, the wider story arcs, I worked on them a lot. And he worked on, I used to say to him, you don't see the forest through the trees, you don't see the leaves through the trees. He's very specific. He does. So he is very, very specific. And he taught me quite a lot about that. Everything matters. These are things that I hadn't thought of. And he's very principled about that. And he's very, he knows what he wants to do, and I do too, And so we had our moments, but overall we're learning from each other. And as I said to him, I've worked in this, in film for a long time here, and when you're with somebody who's intelligent, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, this is good. This is good to be with people like this, because there's a lot that they can teach me, and I'm hoping that I can teach them. But yeah, we had things, but we also, we great. It's no problem.
Yeah. What is now we was talking earlier about working with the guys like David Cooley and Kurt Fuller, who, like I said, is very both very talented in their own rights. Now, on Wolves of Savin Hill, you also worked with what was it, Brian, and I'm going to botch his name, but Brian Scannell?
Scannell, yeah, you got it right. He told me, a lot of people call it Scannell. I was calling him Scannell. He says it's Scannell. Yeah.
Now, how was it working with him?
Brian's good. He, I think he's got a style. It's very subtle. He's sometimes, we used to say he's like a lizard on a rock. He's very, very. There's an intimacy that I think that he lures people to him, in scenes, and he's kind of the center of a lot of scenes in that way. We didn't realize it until we really got into the editing. But there's a stability like in scenes because of the way he is. And we had an actor named Carafotes who's also great, and he came in and he was like hot as a pistol. He was all energy, and it worked beautifully with Brian Scannell because his character, he's got this kind of Steve McQueen, Gary Cooper kind of style. It's very, very subtle, and it's very, very, like I said, the best word I can describe it is there's an intimacy that it carries. There's a sense of there's a real heaviness about it. And it was perfect for that character. It's just the character the way you want him. And so with Brian, I liked working with Brian when we were really close. We had scenes that were relatively quiet. We have a scene in the bathroom where he's having a really heavy moment with his wife. And it's really dark, pretty scary. And man, he was good. He did a great job. And that's his strength. That is his strength. He's got strengths in other areas, but he's a solid performer. Somebody referred to his performance as, was it subtle? They used the word like that. And it was right on, that's how he does his thing. And it's fun to work with him, And he's a great guy. He's just a nice guy. Very, very, a lot of these guys, it's funny. When you're working with actors who are this way, actors who've worked a little bit, they're very generous. They're easy to work with, surprisingly. I feel like, that's the one thing that surprised me about actors who have talent and who've worked. When you're working with them, they're easy. You don't have to direct them that much. They give you good stuff. Paul Carafotes, great example of that. We look at each other in the editing room and say, well, which one do we choose? Because he did 3 or 4 and they were all good. And that's a nice...
Right. With that said, I mean, is it, do you find it different, I guess, working on independent film, but then going to an independent film and going to a major production film? And I mean, do you find it, you think it's a little bit more challenging to direct the actors?
In this particular film?
No, in general. I mean, you work.
I think that's a paradox here. I think that's what possibly a lot of younger filmmakers fear. Well, what if this guy and that was what surprised me the most. It's like the higher the level of talent. We had Jack McGee from The Fighter, plays the dad in The Fighter. He came in for a scene, and he was just so generous and so cool, And he just came in, and he's asking us, how do you want it? I'm thinking maybe I should do it this way. And John's, we're sitting there, and he's asking John, and that was really nice, And John's like, yeah, let's try it this way, let's try it that way also. And there was a specific take that he gave us. He's interrogating David Cooley's character. And he gave us one take and he said, I'm going to bring it up. And we said, okay. And he gave us a take that became the master for the scene. I laid it under everything. It was so good. The whole thing. I mean, from beginning to end, he just found it, and he really gave us something special. It was great. And I mean, it's not like, there's no problem. There are no problems with this guy. He's just, just very generous. Very nice. Now, I don't know if that's true all the time. It probably should not. But they also, I think, when you're making a film, they're watching you. And if you're carrying yourself a certain way, and you know what you're doing, it makes them comfortable. It's like they need you to show that. I know that. And when they see that in you as the person running the set and the director, they respond to that. They feel comfortable, they feel safe, and they work really well. I'm sure if you're, if the set is confused and you haven't done your homework and you're not prepared, they're going to see that too, and you might get some grief. But we didn't. I think they like the story and they like the experience, and you feed them well. I knew that before. Always feed them well. Always does.
I guess that's with anything. I mean, the professionalism and everything. I mean, I guess it's got to do with everything.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the foreclosure.
Yep.
That was another one that you worked on.
Oh yeah, I produced, wrote, directed, everything. That was a labor of love. I had an actor named Charlie Kelly. He was my 7th grade English teacher. The guy he's an actor from back east, and he's fantastic. And I always told him, if you ever moved out to LA, you would have been really good. Because he's got a Jack Nicholson kind of style. He looks a little bit like him, and he's got this great edge to him, and he's very funny. He's just a fantastic actor. And he came in the Sway film and played the sheriff. And so I wrote a story about a man who resists the foreclosure. He's a gambler, and he's losing his house. And he holds up in the house, and that's him. People are coming to try to take the house. He holds up in the house, and that's the idea. And it was another independent film that I learned from the first from Sway. Great job shooting on location, helped us a lot. 74 actors, a little bit out of control. And so, can we do another one? One location. Imagine a story that you can set in one location, a house, and 5, 6 actors. He invites a few wealthy friends over for a card game. And he has other plans for them, and that's the idea. It's like a little bit of it's a dark comedy. But that's it's great. Shooting in a house, guys, it's a big house. And we went through that place, and it just, the whole story takes place in one house. And it's interesting, because you're following the guy, is this guy going to get out of this situation or not? And as people are being, dispatched, let's say, one at a time, things seem better for him, but it goes out of control. So it was a lot of fun to do. And it was difficult, very difficult, because very little money, and you're trying to get out of this guy's house every day by 5 o'clock or so. Not easy. But
yes. Well, what is the process of finding a place to? For the listeners out there, and it's something I'd like to know too. What is the process of finding a place to shoot or a good scene? A good set, so to speak.
Well, independent filmmakers, we're guerrilla style in a lot of ways. With the Wolves of Savin Hill, I have to tell you, we just went there and did it. John did a scene at LAX, Los Angeles International Airport, sitting on the bench outside. The actors knew their cues, walked up. He had the camera on his lap, a Lumix, very small camera. He's looking straight ahead, and they did the whole scene, and they got 2 directions. He sat on the other side. They did the scene again. Nobody was really paying attention, and we got a great scene at LAX. That was a steal. We stole it. Now, that location, you've got to get permits to go in there, and, I don't mind saying it. No, now. But, we had a scene down under the bridge in LA, and the cops came by. We had 2 girls dressed as prostitutes. We had, it was a big scene where they approach a cop, a detective in his car, and they have a conversation with him, and he has this he's got a pistol, he's got a gun, he's up yelling at the girl, and he's got the gun on her, and the cops drove by twice, gave us a little nod, a little wave, and kept going. It was crazy. We just were looking at each other like, there's something happening here. Everyone's letting us go, We shot a scene.
Now that,
so it's a movie.
Now, with that said, that was, now did they see the camera and all that then? Was it pretty much an open vision to see what's going on?
I don't know why. They saw everything. They saw the lights. They just, I don't,
maybe this is a part of town. That's always,
Yeah, there's
just drove by and waved it off.
Look, I recommend getting a permit if you can. If you've got a budget, do it right. Get the permit. But some things, you watch the Carafotes, you watch these older filmmakers. These guys stole stuff all the time. You see the street scenes in New York, Hollywood Boulevard. This stuff is just out there handheld. They're out there in 1968, 69 with handheld camera, shooting with real film. Beautiful stuff, and they stole it. They didn't have a lot of that stuff, French Connection. I heard William Friedkin went into the subways with Gene Hackman and a few other people, put him in. They sat in a wheelchair and they followed him through that scene. If you remember, when he's pursuing the villain and he's trying to catch him on the subway car.
That's right.
That's all. They stole that basically. They had one cop they knew, and he said, "Go ahead, do it, and I'll stick you." And they did it. They were chasing the French Connection in the car. William Friedkin was in the back seat with the camera, and they were really going that fast, and they weren't supposed to. They had no sense to do that kind of stunt. And they just did it. These are kind of our heroes. These guys they pulled it off. You get it in the can, you got it. I wouldn't recommend doing anything like that, but we're the
right.
With locations where you're on a set. You have to, as an independent filmmaker. If you've got some money, then you can go to somebody and find the place you want. But in a lot of ways, it's being creative and finding that location and asking somebody for help. That's what we do. ins and outs. We found a guy, a priest that we knew out here, ran a foundation up on Sunset in an old studio, and he let us come in and we shot the interrogation scene there. It was awesome. We brought in food and everything. He was just so sweet. Father Willie, and he was just great, and allowed us to go in there for the day, and that's the gift. You get these little gifts from people.
Yes, indeed. Now, Wolves of Savin Hill, I mean, it's the cast in it is outstanding. I mean, a great group of seasoned actors. How did that come about? In
terms of the actors?
Yes. How did the connection get made with all the? I mean, I hate to keep going back or names.
We got some good actors. Well,
Kurt Fuller, but he's up there.
Kurt is a really, really great guy, and he loves John. And he told John, "You write a scene for me, I'll come in and do it." And that's Kurt. No problem. Jack and McGee, same thing. Good friends with David Cooley. You guys write a nice scene for me, I'll come in and do it. And that's we called Michael Massee. He came to the reading. They're all at the reading. Michael Massee. Yeah, I'll do the cemetery scene. Did a beautiful scene in the cemetery. Very generous. These guys, I think, we were talking one night, we were shooting a scene down under the pier in Santa Monica, and the actors were talking about this. They love to act, these guys. And in a good story, they get into the characters. They spend 2 or 3, 4 hours in a scene. That's what they love. I mean, an actor loves to act. And, what are we going to pay them? If the movie does well, we'll pay them. Other than that, they're doing this for us. We haven't failed to recognize that. That's for sure. They are doing it for us because they're friends. And that's it. I mean, you get great performances in a film like this. It makes the difference. I look at my films and I say sometimes, and I don't mean this really, but they're pretty good, for little independent films. But it's like trying to join the NBA with a team of players who are 5'4". I mean, you know what I mean? They're not terrible, but they're not playing the NBA either. And so if you want to make a good independent film, you've got to get good performances from good actors. And do you need names? I suppose if you want to sell the thing eventually, I mean, that's the idea. But names are names because they're good. I don't think they become names just because they're good looking. They become names because they're good actors. To us, and to John, this is about telling a truthful story, really finding emotionally the truth of the scene and the story, and that to me was the best part. I feel like these guys really meant it. I believe, and I've worked with non-actors whom I don't believe, and it's very frustrating when you get that sick feeling in your stomach when you're making a scene and people are they're just not good, and then when you work with people like this, they're good. They're really fine actors, and they give you great performances. And you're thinking to myself, wow, this is a pretty good film. We're doing something special for these guys. And, that's a gift, another gift that they can make for us.
Right. Have you had any dealings with that? Have you ever been on a scene and had to, got that sick feeling in your stomach and realized that the actor was pretty much the shits? Mm-hmm. I mean, how did you have you ever been in that situation? And if you had, how did you handle it?
Yeah. Well, you know what it is? It's Russell. It's do it again and again and again and again and again until they calm down, and that's probably the best way to do it. And then get in close, get a lot of coverage, and do it in the edit. And that's what I do. High shooting ratios. I mean, that's what digital film gives you. A really high shooting ratio. For every minute of the performance, you can get 10, 12 minutes of that. You know what I mean? And get a lot of reactions, film reactions, and reactions are good. We actually were filming people a lot. When I made Sway, my DP was filming people during the break. I would keep them in areas and let them talk, and we'd film them. And we used a lot of it because, it was natural. It was real. And there are a lot of little tricks like that. But I guess in the end, get good performances, get good actors. Rehearse as much as you can. But before you do that, audition, and don't give it to your friends.
Right.
That's it. To the guy.
Well, before go ahead.
What's that?
Yes, indeed. No, I was just listening.
Yeah.
But before I let you go, before we wind down, is there any advice you can give to any up and coming directors or producers or writers or anybody that's wanting to, follow in your footsteps?
Well, was it Alan Arkin? his nephew kept bothering him about, working in films, and he kept telling him, no, don't do it. I want a job. No, I'm not going to help you. And he said, finally, the kid bothered him so much, he helped him out. Because he, as he told him, you got to want this more than anything else in your life. And that's it. I mean, I started out in film, independent films, with a lot of people who aren't doing it anymore. They're just not. And it's very difficult when you're making money, right? And you're out there, but if you're doing it for the art, and you really believe that you can get better, that you're on a learning curve, and that if you remain teachable, I think anybody can get to a place of, we can get better. We can always get better. But it's just, my advice, work a lot for free for people, volunteer, and pay attention, and read a lot, and watch films, Just watch a lot of films. I had this woman in Boston, a friend of mine, used to do film festivals. She taught me to do film festivals. Select a director and do a festival for a couple of weeks. I'd do John Ford or, Carafotes, and I would select that director and just watch everything. Script films, time them, look for structures. And John does the same thing. This kid watches films all the time. And we're always sharing information. Filmmakers in the genre, find the genre that you want to work in, and watch films that are shot in that genre. Know the genre, know the conventions, and use them. Be smart about it, because I think a lot of independent filmmakers they rush in, and it's all about I did this with my first film. It was more about me than it was the audience, which is a big mistake. Just to always think of your audience. And in Wolves of Savin Hill, we did that a lot. We thought about what would turn the audience. We're going to lose people here. And talk like that makes a huge difference in making a story.
Yes, indeed. Now, are there any links on the internet that you would like to share with our
yeah,
listeners?
Sure. Thanks. We have a website. It's called. The best way to get on the website is to go to the browser. HTTP www.wolvesofsavinhill.wix.com. We've got a nice website. You can check out the trailer. You can contact us. We're always checking in with getting people now since the festival. We're getting a lot of traffic, which is great. That's the best way to see the trailer. The trailer's on YouTube also.
Yes, indeed. We'll be sharing all that in the show notes. Well, Sean, I had a real good time talking with you today, and I'd like to invite you back on maybe a couple of months or so. Maybe we talk a little bit about more about your experiences. Because as I can
be happy to do it. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, not a problem. Anytime.
Let's do it.